Montez Sweat is locked in. Roschon Johnson has a specific role. Let's talk about all of that and plenty more right now.
Bend over to your right.
What the was that?
What's up, Bears fans? People want to hear me talk.
What's going on, Bears fans, and welcome to another episode of the Nicholas Moriano Show. I'm your host, Nicholas Moriano. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this Bears YouTube channel with a fellow Bears fan. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it to the end of the week. Congratulations. However you are willing or wanting to celebrate, please do so. You made it all the way to Friday. I feel like it's been like the longest week for me with the schedule change that I'm kind of going through right now, but I wanted to get back on here and just kind of talk about some Bears topics that were brought to light in the ESPN interview on ESPN 1000, the Kap J show yesterday morning. Ryan Poles was one of the guests that they had on, and I think the guys just did a really good job of getting a lot of good information out of Ryan Poles. So that's what this whole entire show is going to be focused on. So we're going to I took notes as I was listening, was transcribing a couple of things that I found really interesting. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some of the highlights. And if you guys haven't listened to it, I did put the link in the description for the Spotify version of that portion of the podcast. Definitely go check it out. I thought it was really insightful. That's why I'm doing a whole show on it, just the takeaways I had from the show. But it is in the link in the description below. So I want to give those guys all the credit for this because they did a really good job, like I said, highlighting some interesting things from that show. Really quickly, didn't mention off the top, but of course, you guys who are tuning in right now, watching live on YouTube, you guys are the best. You're awesome. Appreciate you. I also appreciate the whole entire audio listener community that I have going on. So this show, for those that don't know, it's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, really anywhere where you listen to your podcast, you can listen to the Nicholas Moriano Show. So make sure, go check that out. Especially like if you're driving, I don't know. I'm somebody that does actually have a YouTube video just playing. That's just what I do. But if you're someone that just wants to put the YouTube or the Spotify audio version on, please go do so. It's on there for you guys as well. Sweet. I've seen everybody coming into the chat too. Squeegee, bear down to you, Squeegee. I'm not even going to attempt the username, but Nick, talk about Shamar Turner. I think he's going to be a dog. Dude, I think he's got some potential there. And actually, Shamar Turner does get brought up in the ESPN 1000 interview. So we will definitely talk about some Shamar Turner and what his role might be in his rookie season. So I think we should just get right into it and kind of go into, I think I'm just going to go chronologically how I took some of the notes in here. As you see in the headline of the show, Montez Sweat locked in. Roschon Johnson has a specific role with this team, providing that physicality, which I think suits what he can do. So again, in the description, you can find the Spotify version of the ESPN 1000 show that had Ryan Poles as a guest. But go listen to that after this podcast. I'll share some of the takeaways, and then you can hear it for yourself. But let's kind of just start at the top here. I believe this was Jay Hood that asked Ryan Poles, what does Caleb need to do to kind of take the offense to that next level? This one was, I think a pretty straightforward answer, but what Caleb Williams is doing right now and what Ryan Poles highlighted from Caleb Williams is that, he's with Ben Johnson. They're in the classroom. They're learning, growing together. So doing that kind of stuff. But as long as Caleb Williams is continuing to put that work with the offensive staff, that's going to allow Caleb Williams in year 2 to take this offense to that next level. So obviously learning a new system, learning a new playbook that has all this creativity in it with all these new weapons, it's going to be a process. And that's why when you have veterans now, or a veteran in the room in Case Keenum, you can lean on somebody like that who's been through multiple playbooks at this point in his career to kind of go back and forth and ask those questions. You have that person as a player, but you also have all your coaches as well. So nothing groundbreaking there. But again, what does Caleb Williams have to do? He's doing it right now. The D line. So there's a question asked about the D line and wanting to spend, draft capital on it. And this has been a very consistent answer with Ryan Poles. Before the draft, after the draft, all the interviews he's done, but he's reiterated like they leaned on the board, right? That's how they went about selecting the players that they did. Why they went with certain trade backs at certain times in the draft, because they're bored. They were looking at their board as they should, and kind of just following what it was telling them. And what Ryan Poles was also saying, there was a slight edge to some of the offensive players in this draft. So when they got in particular points in, certain rounds, certain portions of the draft, it was just kind of leaning in favor of some of the offensive players. And again, this question was about the D line. So he knew that certain players that, they would have liked to take weren't going to be available to them in the spots that they were selecting. But, they do end up with a guy like Shamar Turner, who is someone that it seems like the staff is really excited about. I myself am excited about. I know, we have people in the chat that are also excited about Shamar Turner. And maybe that's a good segue. I might bounce around a little bit, kind of building off of that Shamar Turner point, to talk about Shamar Turner and Javon Dexter, because this was Kap asking the question, phrasing the question like, do Dexter and Turner have this playing at end? Do they have that capability, essentially? And what Ryan Poles had, or paraphrasing here, he said versatility is important, but he's going to rely on, Dennis Allen to really see what the Bears can do with those two specific players. And, he did say, Ryan Poles, I know it's a part of what we're going to do, and said, again, he would refer to, Dennis Allen. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I'm blanking on Jeremy Garrett. I don't know why I'm thinking Grant, but Jeremy Garrett, the defensive line coach, to kind of find where's going to be best to utilize guys like that. And I know there was at one point in time, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where people were speculating, oh, it's Javon Dexter. He looks a little bit lean. He's going to go play an edge. I never really thought that was going to be like his new position, but I think the idea of having position flexibility and just lining up guys in different spots, that's going to be huge. That's going to be really big for this Bears team. So I think for a guy like Shamar Turner, bringing the discussion to him now, he has played in at his time at Texas A&M. He's also played inside more recently last season. So he does have that flexibility. And it's all about how you utilize guys like that and put them in advantageous situations to get the most out of their abilities. And it's going to take time. It's going to take coaching. It's going to take trial and error. But I just feel like even on this defensive line with who the Bears currently have, there could be some interchangeability, mixing things around, definitely with different waves, different combinations. So it should be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I think this is a good segue too, to kind of get to that first big main takeaway when talking about that edge group. And I think when you're talking about the edge group, especially with the Chicago Bears right now, the main guy should be Montez Sweat. He is the guy that they paid, the guy that they traded for, the guy that's supposed to be the focal point where teams have to game plan for him. And, there were definitely at times, especially right when he got traded, where that was the case. But what was also brought up in the interview, Kap was mentioning like, Montez Sweat was dealing with a shin injury. I don't think a lot of people know about that. Like, Montez was definitely injured last season, and you take that into account with the entire defense not playing up to its capabilities, especially when Andrew Billings went down, things just kind of trickled off. And that was also brought up that, Billings, he affected the middle of that pocket. When he went down due to injury in the game against Arizona, I mean, not only does it affect the interior defensive line, the edges, but that effect also trickles up to the linebackers. And what Ryan Poles said when talking about Andrew Billings, he's getting into the building and getting lean a leaner Andrew Billings. We still need that size, though, the run stuffer. But, I mean, we've seen Andrew Billings get off at times, you guys. He can get in the backfield. So a guy that's, in there working, getting leaner, let's see what that does to his overall playmaking abilities. And maybe you see more opportunities for him to, win those one-on-one matchups, get in the backfield, and impact quarterbacks, sent the pocket. But for the most part, Andrew Billings, the run stuffer. Just stuff some of the gaps. Make it easy for your linebackers so that these offensive linemen don't get second level and impact, them as a group. So that I think is going to be good for the Bears as they're looking to just get better at the run, at stopping the run, especially when you look at towards the end of last season. Not only are you missing Billings, but you're also missing Jaquan Brisker, who's a huge, huge part in stopping the run. But this is, I think, one of the big points here. Montez Sweat. And here's a direct quote. I quickly transcribed this from that interview. He said, and this is from Ryan Poles talking about Montez Sweat after he just got done talking about Andrew Billings. I'll tell you this. The whole building is excited. I don't think there's anyone in this building working as hard as Montez Sweat right now. He's pushing weight. He's getting strong. He's getting in shape. He's locked in like I have never seen him before. And guys, at this point in the season, you want to hear that. You love to hear that. If you're a Bears fan, especially knowing how important Montez Sweat is going to be to this defensive line, right? Like I just said, he is he's your guy that's highest paid. He's going to be the guy that teams should focus on first when they're looking at the defensive lineman. And knowing that, he's he's pushing weight, getting strong, getting in shape, more locked in than he's ever seen. You want to hear that from your top defensive end. And he needs to have a huge, huge season for the Bears to take that step defensively with Dennis Allen. We saw what the defense can look like when he's not having the impact, and that it just kind of impacts everybody else. And like I think I said it on yesterday's show, early morning. Like there's going to be a lot of pressure on him and Dio Dingbo to really produce consistently. And I think with a guy like Montez Sweat, we do need to see him create that pressure, make offenses feel that type of, again, get off, that power that he was showing right when the Bears actually traded for him. Like, you saw that immediate impact. And what did Eberflus always say? The Tez effect? That Tez effect, we need to see that far more than we saw it in 2024. But adding adding more players in the interior like Grady Jarrett, Shamar Turner, Trevon Dexter going into year 3, Andrew Billings being a improved, better version of himself and being hopefully staying healthy. That's also going to help the edge guys. So that's big for the Bears. And I just to be completely honest, I don't see this Bears defense obviously being a good unit, being a great unit if Montez Sweat doesn't have a huge impact. You have a lot of great players on that defense, but if you cannot get to the quarterback, you can have as many great secondary players as the Bears do. You can have good linebackers, but it really will, and it should fall on Montez Sweat. Everybody has to do their part in this when you're running stunts, running twists to set guys up and things like that. But when Montez is asked to go one-on-one with the opposing team's best right tackle, or if they move him around, whatever it may be, we do need to see Montez Sweat come up big and win those matchups. So I do like hearing, though, that he's in the building, he's locked in, ready to go. So it's a good thing for Montez Sweat. Really quickly, Squeegee, you are pretty cool too, Nicholas. You're the best. Appreciate you, Squeegee. You're awesome. You guys are awesome. Let's get to some of these not super chats. Actually, speaking of super chats, not saying that it is something that we should do, but maybe if we start doing them a little more, that'd be awesome. But no, just some of the comments that I'm seeing in here. We have Muck, Todd General. Nicholas, is it possible Poles could trade for a Breece Hall? I've seen that. Like, I don't know if it's. I remember like during the draft, like there was like these I don't know, speculation rumors that Brees Hall was available. To be completely honest, actually, when we get to I should have probably saved this comment, honestly, for the second part of the show because we're going to talk more running backs. I know it feels like exhausting at this point, but there's just more about it. It doesn't sound like that right now, to be completely honest. It doesn't sound like the Bears are looking to add somebody at this moment in time. I know there's this Nick Chubb's like smoke. Maybe there's fire to it too. But at the moment in time, and hopefully I'm not saying this and the Bears go acquire Nick Chubb, but it just doesn't seem like that at this point in time. And I'll tell you why in a little bit once I read the quote that Ryan Poles had just when he was asked about the running back room. So that's where I'm at on that. Muck Thai General. Eric Bochen. Eric, a staple here at the Nicholas Moriano Show. Appreciate you, my man. I'm interested to see if this new staff has any plan for guys like Dom Rob and Pickens, maybe a move of Pickens to end. Yeah, Zach Pickens, man. I'm curious to see how he rebounds. Because, there were just times in the locker room where he looked down, where he was a healthy scratch. And I know that that last staff tried to unlock that more, I would say, violent side of him. Because for people who haven't met Zach Pickens, he's a nice dude. Like anytime I talked to him, he was always open to it. I remember, when we were just breaking down plays in the locker room and, he's just appreciative of, me going over the plays, but he made good plays. And that's the thing. Like there have been some flashes with him. And so whatever needs to be done to get more of that out of him, like we need to see that. He's a 3rd round draft pick. And to be a healthy scratch towards the end of the season when you need a defensive lineman to step up, that's obviously not that encouraging. So I'm hoping that whatever the plan is for Zach Pickens, they can unlock something there. Because it would be unfortunate for him to, phase out now that they've added a couple more guys in the interior. So it'll be interesting to see. Dom Rob, I don't know. I mean, when you look at him physically, you guys, I mean, the dude is he's a physical specimen. Like you look at him, he is ripped, he's shredded, he's long. Like, can you get something out of that as well? And you know what? When you look at the edge position right now, there's not a lot of quality depth. So you may need to get more out of him. And I think I said on yesterday's show, I wouldn't be surprised they bring in a veteran edge player just to kind of add into the mix. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then really quickly, this question from Windy City Twins before we go into our first break. Any plans on doing a live show for the schedule release? I mean, yeah, that'd be great. I'm kind of working through schedules here and seeing what I can and can't do. But yeah, if it times out, I would love to do a live schedule release show. That's always a fun time too. Like it's funny because if we were to make these these like kind of preseason record win and loss records, we can make it right now. And then I bet you for whatever reason, it does change, once after the schedule is released. Like we knew all the same opponents were there, but now it's like, oh, wait, you have these 3 opponents lined up. I can't give them 3 W's now, can I? Oh, or maybe I can. Maybe that's an L to break up this win streak that I had on the Bears. It always happens like that. So if it all works out, I'm so for doing a live show. So I'll have to just wait and see. And I'll definitely keep you guys updated before that happens. So we're all on the same page here. All right, let's get into really quickly, you guys, this first break. And then again, we're going to talk some more running backs. We are, maybe I'm just fascinated with the running back position, but there just seems to be more and more, I don't know, notes about it or, takeaways from it. But really quickly, before we get into all of that, I have to tell everybody about my friends at Windy City Sports Cards. Of course, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. So whether you're a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, or Blackhawks, they've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to their Chicago-focused items, everybody, they also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. You can visit their online store to find exactly what you're looking for to complete your collection or to discover a new favorite. And you can check them out at 312-WindyCitySportsCards.com. That's 312-WindyCitySportsCards.com. And of course, I have to tell everybody about my friends at Napleton Cadillac of Libertyville, the one-stop shop for all your needs. What I mean by that is sales, service, parts, and body shop. It's all available at Napleton Cadillac of Libertyville, located on 1050 South Milwaukee in Libertyville, Illinois. The team prides themselves on their service, winning dealership of the year twice, everybody. So check out their website, NapletonCadillacLibertyville.com, to see all their new and pre-owned vehicles, including the new all-EV Cadillac Lyriq. It is a sweet-looking ride, let me tell you. And you can also subscribe to their YouTube channel to view more of the vehicles that they have on hand, which you can find in the description below. Napleton Cadillac of Libertyville, your one-stop shop for all your needs. All right, everybody, this is the Nicholas Moriano Show. I'm your host, Nicholas Moriano. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this YouTube channel with a fellow Bears fan. Also, on all your audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. You listen there, the show will be there as well. Okay, let's get into the running back talk. And, when answering one of the questions earlier about Breece Hall, actually, before we even get into whether or not the Bears look to add more playmakers back there, I just found it interesting the comments that Ryan Poles had on Roschon Johnson, because when Poles was asked about, the running back room, what it looks like now and in the future from Jay Hood, this is what he said initially. It's a good room. I'm really excited about Eric Bieniemy being here as well, in terms of, obviously, I've been with him, but there's a long track record of development and his ability to raise the level of play for that room. So we're really excited about him. And then Poles went on to say that, the upgrades on the offensive line will allow people to kind of feel the impact of the running backs and how they perform. And then Poles, this is the first player he highlighted in his answer to Jay Hood's question about the running backs. Roschon. Really looking forward to him playing a physical brand of football that we know he has. I think that kind of role was a little bit out of whack last season. I think he's going to have a little bit more of a physical role for us. And so, kind of breaking that down a little bit, I mean, notable, it's Roschon Johnson being mentioned here first, and then seeing a very specific role for a guy like that. Physicality. And I think when you think back to some of the highlight runs or some of the things that Roschon has shown in his first 2 years in the league, there is a physicality to him. Like, I think back, was it his rookie season? No, I think it was last year at Soldier Field, where he lowers his shoulder and is able to run over one of the Green Bay Packers. I think it was a DB, if I'm not mistaken. But he has shown that ability to just lower the shoulder, run over people. And you know what? When he was asked to run at the goal line, he had some success with it. But what's interesting is, like, that role was out of whack. And in the article that I wrote for Bear Goggles On, which will be up, I think it's actually up right now, I highlighted a portion or a point in time where it was out of whack. You go back to week 8. Everyone, I think, remembers the Hail Mary. But the Bears wouldn't have been in a situation like that had they not decided to get cute and try to hand the ball off to Doug Kramer, who was the fullback on that play. But Roschon was in on that 3rd and goal play from the Commanders' 1-yard line. 6 minutes or so left in the 4th quarter. At the snap, Roschon, who's the back, flares out to the right. Caleb Williams opens up. Doug Kramer, ball just falls right between the arms there, and Caleb Williams gets credit with the fumble. Lose the ball at the 1, get nothing. No points come out of that drive when it should have been a touchdown. The Bears do end up forcing a punt from Washington and end up getting the ball and get a touchdown. But you end up losing like you did on the Hail Mary, which you wouldn't have had you just scored the touchdown in the first place. So it like that's out of whack. But also like looking at his snaps too, Roschon Johnson, and he did deal with the concussion in week 13 against the Detroit Lions, missed 2 games and then came back. But he only played 66. This I thought was a little I mean, I guess I wasn't paying attention too much at the time, but he only played 66 offensive snaps last season, which I don't know. Obviously, the dip from his rookie year, 124, and he's not the lead back, but 66 for a guy that you drafted in the 4th round, who I thought showed some good, some good plays. Obviously, I think blitz pickups were inconsistent, but he's a guy that I think can do it. Needs to keep continuing getting better at it, but even after the injury, just didn't get hardly any playing time after coming back from the concussion, being on the field. And at that point, you're not making the playoffs. It's like, why not give him a shot? So I think it's just interesting though, that Ryan Poles highlighted him, and he did highlight some other players right after Johnson, but you see that physical brand. I think when you're now thinking Ben Johnson, what he had in Detroit, the physical brand of football was David Montgomery. It's not that Jahmyr Gibbs isn't physical, but I think you just associate physical football with David Montgomery. And I'm not making the comparison from Roschon Johnson to David Montgomery. I'm just saying, like, stylistically, DeAndre Swift plays one certain style. Roschon Johnson plays a different certain style. So there are the differences there that you might want in the backfield. Ryan Poles also, right after talking about Roschon Johnson, said, and then we have a young group behind them that's coming along. Ian Wheeler was doing some really good things last year, and he has high level of speed. And then Kyle Monagai, he's going to come in, and he's a physical runner, and looking forward to him to develop and see where he lands on the depth chart as we go through training camp. Even that last phrase right there, you guys, where he lands on the depth chart, I mean, it means you're making the team. And that is never the guarantee when you have a 7th round draft pick, right? Like, think about it. I wouldn't be coming up here talking about like a 7th round draft pick having the possibility of actually making a team. I've been, I've learned over the years, like, that is, people should know that it's just not usually the case. Those guys are the outside looking in, even if you're a draft pick. But it kind of just feels like there is an expectation, I believe it too, that Kyle Monagai is making this roster, is going to be a contributor, and is going to bring that physical brand of football that Ryan Poles just highlighted to this football team, where I think the Bears are needing that. So it is going to be interesting. And then going back now to the question we were talking about with Breece Hall, but just adding another player. It was Kap that asked Poles about Nick Chubb. And, he asked him too, like, have you seen the videos? He's putting out these workout videos, or do you even pay attention to that in general during this point in the season when players are doing that? Ryan Poles said he doesn't, but he did mention how the team scouts these the free agent talent. And this is what Ryan Poles said. We have a great pro staff that's led by Jeff King, and we have a short list that we're looking at. Guys that are available. We always, again, stay opportunistic there and have conversations internally if this move is going to be the right move for us, if there is a fit, and we'll continue to have those conversations as we go. I know we really wanted to get this coaching staff with the players that we have to see if they believe that they can help us. But again, we'll always keep our eye on the short list if we need to bring someone in to compete in and create competition and see if we can raise the level of talent in that room. So that last part right there. And this is something I actually talked about, I think it was yesterday. But just the staff wanting to see what they have currently. Like, they just need to figure out, like, this is a new coaching staff with these players for the first time. What do you actually have? If you like what you have, you can run with it. Run with these running backs. If you don't, then you can think about adding players. And like Ryan Poles said, they have a short list of guys that they've identified. Maybe that includes Nick Chubb. Maybe that includes J.K. Dobbins. Who knows? But I think that was the key part at the end. Like, this staff wants to see what they actually have right now on the roster. And look, Ryan Poles is bringing names like Ian Wheeler, your 7th round draft pick, and Kyle Monagai. You have DeAndre Swift. You have Roschon Johnson. So there are actually numbers in the room. You got to see if they're going to be effective in your system, if they're going to fit what you want to do, and then you can kind of go from there, right? So I think it's going to be an interesting thing to just watch and play out. But that's why I just don't think anybody's at it right now. Of course, they can go at Nick Chubb 2 minutes from now. It wouldn't surprise me, but it just sounds like at this moment in time, they want to see the current guys. Because if you do bring in a Nick Chubb or a J.K. Down, those are obviously established veterans in the NFL. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't be able to pick up Ben Johnson's system. And then you're taking away reps from the guys that maybe you just still need to see more of. You watch the tape on these guys, you have an idea of what they can do, but you still need to see it. And so maybe that's why I wouldn't make a move right here, right now, but maybe wait a little bit. I have a question from Eric Bochen here in the chat. Nick, you think Wheeler starts the season on the PUP list to give him a bit more time to get healthy? I honestly don't know, Eric Bochen. To be completely honest, I don't know where. I mean, I've seen Ian Wheeler in the locker room, especially towards the end of the season, walking around. So I don't know where he's at physically after the ACL tear that he had in the game against the Kansas City Chiefs in the preseason. So don't know, but obviously, if you're healthy and if he's healthy enough to go, like I think they'd want to see him, but you also don't want to rush anything. So don't have a really great answer for you. But I think next week not next week, it would be rookie minicamp, but a couple weeks here, we'll get a better idea of who's available, who's not. Don't expect to see Colston Loveland out there running routes in rookie minicamp, even though, he said that, the shoulder is definitely progressing, but I don't know, they probably just take it slow with him, but maybe I'm wrong. So we can see what that looks like in a little bit here. Okay, we talked about the running backs, but that's not everything. Oh yeah. Here's another. I think everybody at this point has heard Ryan Poles' comments. Maybe you haven't. Maybe the first time we're talking about it. So might as well bring it up here. After talking about the running backs in the interview with ESPN 1000 with Kap and J Hood, he was asked by J Hood about the offensive tackle, just alignment. And I think this gave really good clarity. I wish you would have known this before I went live yesterday. But when he was asked about the offensive alignment, Ryan Poles, I think, provide some clarity on where people are going to line up for the Bears at offensive tackle, which is great. He said, want to see what we have in a young rookie with Ozzie Trapillo in terms of what that looks like at left. We still want to see Braxton return from his injury as well as Karan. So there's a lot of options, which to me is a huge benefit and a huge improvement for our O-line that you have these options. That's really valuable. But I think the one thing that we came away from our recent conversations is whatever we settle on, especially when we're going into training camp, it's going to be really important to stick with that and be as consistent as possible. And now things come up that could change that. But our mindset is wherever we end up settling going into training camp, we'd like for it to be as stable as possible so we're not flipping guys left and right. Some of the guys will be swing tackles eventually, so they're going to have to do a little bit of that. We want to kind of have a solidified O-line as we're going through the beginning parts of training camp. And to me, that is just a different philosophy of how the Bears are thinking about, like, again, certain positions. You want to have it solidified going into training camp. We don't want any of this flip-flopping going on. Ozzie playing at left. You want to see what Braxton looks like there. You want to see what Karan looks like there. Darnell Wright, you're our right tackle. Perfect. But just the want to have stability. Because I just think about the center position last year. You went into training camp, and maybe was that due to injury? There, I know Coleman Shelton had it was a Ryan Bates. I forget which one. Ryan Bates had the injury. So you had the flip-flopping of the centers. But that was one of the big key storylines throughout training camp early on. Like, who's playing the first team center And then who's it the next day? So we're monitoring that. That's not what it sounds like right now. And if the Bears are true to their word, that's not going to be the case going into training camp. Whoever you have going into camp, mid-end July, that's who it's going to be. Maybe it might have different variations of it, but they're not going to be switching sides. You're not going to see Ozzie going from left to right or Darnell going from right to left or anything like that. It's going to be solidified. And that's how it should be. Let's not make it any more confusing than it has to be. But that's what Ryan Poles had to say about that. And that provides a lot more clarity on the position and how the Bears are going to go about it moving forward, which is great. Really quickly, and then the final, I think, major point that I want to bring up here from that conversation. Again, really good job. It's in the description, the Spotify link to that whole 25-minute conversation, so you can listen to it pretty quickly and get a lot of good insight. But I believe it was Kap that asked about the safety position, and obviously the Bears did not draft anybody, but he did ask Kap to Ryan Poles about the undrafted free agents that were brought in Major Burns from LSU, and just asking about him. Does he have a legitimate shot to make the roster? And Ryan Poles said he does have a shot. And so does Oregon safety Roschon Johnson. So maybe some guys, if you're looking at undrafted free agents, some guys to just maybe keep in mind. I have not done my homework on either one of those players yet, but maybe as you're looking to see it's a very competitive DB room too. The backup safety spots, I mean, you have Jonathan Owens, Elijah Hicks, guys like that, but maybe that's where you can find your opportunity. But Major Burns, Roschon Johnson, guys that maybe just keep in mind. Last point here, last one is Ryan Poles was asked about the difference with the coaches this year as opposed to last year. And this is just me paraphrasing it, but what Ryan Poles identified was finding a strategic edge. And he said, can we find that strategic edge? Be on the attack instead of on our heels. And he said that's what feels different with Ben Johnson and his staff, is how they kind of approach things offensively and defensively. They're the aggressors instead of playing, again, passive. They're the ones maybe dictating what a defense can do, what an offense can't do based on what they're thinking for their offensive and defensive scheme. So having that strategic advantage, but also attacking teams from, a skill as well, the skilled players that they have. He also, Ryan Poles, identified like the weight room even feels different. 99% of our guys are here. That's great. They're in there attacking the weight room, how they should be, and are doing so with a lot of, a lot of people there, 99%. I mean, that's great. And it felt like last year, this is what Ryan Poles said, he felt like last year they weren't as strong or physical down the stretch. Yeah, we all can agree to that. Just watch them try to stop the run, hold up blocks, both sides of the ball. It just wasn't there. So that strategic advantage, but also this mindset to attack the weight room, to be the aggressors. Let's see how that translates to this upcoming season, you guys. But I think there was a lot of great takeaways from that interview. So shout out to Kap J Hood on ESPN 1000 yesterday for their interview with Ryan Poles, because, listening to it this morning, I had to come talk about it because I thought there was, again, key takeaways that everybody should know. And please go listen to it. Put it in the description below so you can hear it for yourself. But that's as Darius Morgan puts in the chat here, that's how Bears are supposed to be. Hell yeah, I agree with that. That is how they're supposed to be. And hopefully you see that mentality, though, stay consistent. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs throughout the season. But can you keep that mentality day in, day out, game in, game out, and see where that maybe takes you as a football team? But, maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much right now on May 2nd. But I do like what I'm hearing so far from Ryan Poles and how he's approaching this team and what he's looking forward to doing. Actually, really big point. I missed this because I put it in between those two. Ryan Poles also said, I would hope it's not too long when talking about a Joe Thuney extension or something along those lines, paraphrasing. He hopes it's not too long. Knows his agent, knows, that Joe is excited to be here, Thuney. So that's something that I believe Ryan Poles talked about is on the priority list. Next up kind of thing. So hopefully that happens here sooner rather than later. But guys, those were, I believe, were the main takeaways from the conversation. A lot of great stuff. Like I said for the millionth time now, description below, you'll find the Spotify link to that conversation. Obviously, it's going to be on Apple Podcasts, things like that, but I have it down there. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this episode. 40 minutes, Bears talk. Had, again, key takeaways, but wanted to get on here on a Friday to highlight those before kind of getting out and heading out with the rest of my day. And hopefully, everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy. We'll be back next week. Rookie minicamp also starts towards the end of next week, May 9th through the 11th. So sure I'll be on talking about, what I see, what I'm hearing from Bears rookie minicamp. But that's going to do it for this Friday edition of the Nicholas Moriano Show. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, hanging out, leaving comments, furthering the discussion. That's why, I love the people that come in here each and every single day. Appreciate everybody. And like I said, we'll be back next week. Talk some more Bears football and, just keep this momentum going. Again, rookie mini camp. You have other camps following that. And, we'll be right back into the grind of everything. But I'm going to end this episode. Everyone enjoy your weekend. But until then, adios, Bears fans.
Bend over to your right.
What the was that?
What's up, Bears fans? People want to hear me talk.